Alright, time for the solutions for the angle, side, angle congruence assignment. So in this first section, you have to say whether two triangles are congruent and how you know. So let's start with one. We already have some congruence markings. These two angles match up. These sides match up. And we can add our congruence markings for these inside ones because they're vertical angles. And that gives us angle, side, angle on both triangles. So this is one yes by angle, side, angle. And that brings us to 2. Anytime you have triangles sharing a side, you can add a tick mark for that one, or tick marks, because it's a shared side, and the reflexive property lets you know every side is equal to itself. So now we have angle, angle, and the side between them, angle, angle, side between them on both triangles, so we have angle, side, angle for both. So this one's going to be yes by angle, side, angle. And that brings us to 13. On 3, we have 2 sides and the angle between. And this one we have 2 sides, but not the angle in between. So these ones don't match up. This one's going to be no. And that brings us to 4. Again, when you share a side, you can add tick marks to show it's congruent to itself. And we have 2 pairs of angles, and the side between them matching in both triangles. Again, we have angle, side, angle. So this one's going to be yes by angle, side, angle. And then bring us to the bottom here. On these 2 triangles, we have 2 pairs of matching angles, and the sides between them match. So this is also going to be yes by yes, comma, by side, oh, not side, angle, side, angle. And then bring us to 6. These are all angles that match. If just the angles match, you have no guarantee of congruence. And then bring us to the next section. You have to say what information you need still to have angle, side, angle as it's listed. On these ones, anytime you have the lines intersecting, you can add the congruence markings for those angles because they're opposite angles, they're vertical angles, and those are always congruent. And now I have a 2 pairs of congruent angles for both triangles. I need these sides to be the same length, and if that's so, I would have congruence by angle, side, angle, so I need NM to be congruent to WM. And on the next one, it's a similar story. We have 2 angles, we need the sides between them to be congruent. So we need ED to be congruent to VD. Next section, on 9, you can add a tick mark because that side is shared on both triangles, so it's congruent to itself by the reflexive property. We have an angle here and a side. We need the angle in the next corner to be congruent to the angle in this corner, so we'll have matching angles and then the side between them. So I need this angle and this angle to match up. So I need angle XYI to be congruent to angle YXZ for 9. On 10, we can add our congruent markings here because those are vertical angles. We now have angles and then a side. We need the angle that's after that side to be congruent in order to get angle, side, angle. So I need angle CZX to be congruent to angle CZX CBD. There it is. CBD. CZX. Okay, we need those angles to be congruent. On 11, again, we can add our tick mark because they have a shared side by the reflexive property. And now we have a side and angles. We need the angles on the other side of that segment to match up. So we need angle YXK and angle YXZ to be congruent. And that brings us to 12. We already have two pairs of angles that match up. We just need the side between them to match up. So we can have angle, side, angle. That is side BC congruent to TU. That's it for 12. And that brings us to the last section where we're writing the proofs. So in case you've forgotten or haven't learned it quite yet, we're going to make two columns. The left side is where we put our conclusions. And on the right side, we put the reason / proof why we can have those conclusions. We need to label our vertices, so I'm going to do A, B, C like that, and then D, E, F. And just based off the tick marks, I already know things. For example, AC is congruent to ED, so I'm going to add that. And if it's right on the picture for you to look at and use, that's a given. It's in the picture. These two, this angle here is congruent to this angle here, and that's angle BAC and EDF. And that's also given. The next one's another given. It's right on the picture. We have these angles that match up. So that's BCA and FED. And now that we have two angles matching and the side between them, we have angle, side, angle. So that's going to be the reason why those triangles are congruent. Why triangle BCA is congruent to triangle FED. And make sure those letters are in the appropriate order. So F matches with B, E matches with C, D matches with A. So when you're listing these out, make sure you put them in matching order. That brings us to the next section. Again, we need two columns. And we need to label stuff. So let's make this middle one called H. And then we got G and F and J and K. So now I can start adding stuff. Like I know these sides are congruent. So FH and KH are congruent to each other. And that's a given because it's already marked for us. And I know that these angles are congruent because they've been given. That's angle GFH congruent to angle JKH. It's a given. And there's one more thing we need. We need these angles here to be congruent to each other. And we only know that because those are called vertical angles. Vertical angles. And so that looks like angle JHK is congruent to angle, I'm going to write this next line, angle GHF. And now we have two pairs of angles and then the line between them, so that's angle, side, angle. If you think I could actually write legibly, angle, side, angle. And that lets me know that those triangles match up. So J matches up with G, H matches with itself, and K matches with F. So when I list these out, I'm going to have G, H, F. Those match up in order. That brings us to 15. Again, let's add some stuff. Let's do A, B, C, D. And we'll get two columns going. I know some of these angles match up, like CAD matches ACB. That's a given. It's right there in the markings. And I know these angles over here match. And those angles are ACD congruent to angle CAB. That's a given. And right here in the middle, they share a side, so you can add a little tick mark there to show that AC is congruent to itself. It's congruent to AC. And that's because of the reflexive property. And finally, we have two triangles that are congruent. Triangles ACD being congruent to triangle CAB. There we go. And that's by angle, side, angle. And our last one here, again, get two columns going and add some labels A, B, C, D, and E. E looks like a great letter. I know these sides match up because it's given. It's right in the markings. So CB is congruent to CD. And I know these angles over here match up. Those are angles ABC and EDC. So say angle ABC is congruent to angle EDC. That's a given. And we have two intersecting lines here. That lets me know that I have two vertical angles and they're congruent to each other. That's angle ACB congruent to, so that's ACB. ECD is the other one that goes with it, ECD. And that's because they're vertical angles. And now we have two pairs of congruent angles and the side between them on both sides. That gives me angle, side, angle. And that lets me know that those triangles are congruent. ACB is congruent to triangle ECD. Make sure you have those letters match up. And there you go.